Welcome to Frontiers and Frontlines, Outriders. I'm Sam, and I'll be your guide, and I want you to just sit back and have your canteen of bub juice ready.
Yes. Too many eyes.
Because today, we're going to talk about 10 war pictures that veterans and historians, they said they got it right. And the best part is that the viewers of this channel asked for each and every one of these. I got a stack of comments from my last video telling me which videos I missed and what they wanted next. And I ranked them the only way I should, by which ones got the most requests and the most likes by you. So this is your list and your ranking. If you want to see the video that kicked this all off, it's waiting for you down in the description, and there's a link at the end of the video. And if you want a part 3, well, I guess now you know what to do. All right, let's double time and get to it. And just so you remember, this here list is ranked by popular vote, loudest to quietest, and letters from Iwo Jima. It came in last not because it's the worst film, because it ain't even close to worse. It's a damn fine film. Now Eastwood, he shot a whole picture in Japanese from the losing side of the worst island fight in the Pacific. And you got Ken Watanabe to play General Kuribayashi as a man who knew he was already dead and dug 11 miles of tunnel anyways. That part's all true, by the way. That general really did throw out the old playbook of meeting the Marines at the waterline, and instead, he burrowed his whole garrison into that mountain like ticks into a hound. They bled the Americans for every single yard. The picture gets the strategy dead right, and it gets the thirst right too. Those boys were dying of dysentery and no water before a single Marine waded ashore. Now, where Eastwood gets a little soft, it's the part where every Japanese fellow with a conscience happens to be the one who spent time stateside, and all the cruelty gets shoved onto a couple of bad apple subordinates. The real Imperial Army, it wasn't a few bad apples. The whole barrel had a problem. Eastwood reaches for a decent man in an indecent machine, which makes for a fine movie and a slightly polished history. A surrogate so you'd have somebody to walk out alive with. But I'll tell you what, a director who'll spend Hollywood money making you grieve for the men your granddad was shooting at, he's got to have balls the size of grenades. It earns its medals, even if a couple of them are a little shinier than the record allowed. Now here's a curious one. The man who made it, he was actually there. Oliver Stone, he carried a rifle in the 25th Infantry, and you can feel it in every wet, miserable frame of this film. He got wounded, he came home, and he spent years trying to get somebody to let him put what he saw in film. When he finally did, back in '86, it landed like a mortar round in a quiet church. The bugs, the heat, the dread of a night ambush where the other fellow picks the time. Stone, he lived that, and the veterans who saw this picture, they said, finally, he got to split down the middle of his own platoon ride as well. The lifers who drank and the young heads who smoked and just wanted to get home with their souls more or less intact. Charlie Sheen, he plays the green college kid who drops his deferment to go fight, which is what Stone himself did. And he gets caught between two sergeants who represent the two halves of the war, and maybe the two halves of a man.
Feel good?
Yeah, it feels good. I got no pain in my neck now.
Feeling good's good enough.
Barnes, all scar tissue and brutal logic, and Elias, who's still got something soft left in him. The war ain't burned out yet. William Dafoe and Tom Berenger, they play them, and they're both flat out tremendous.
Barnes! Stay out of this, Elias. This ain't your show.
You ain't a firing squad, you piece of shit!
Where Stone does stretch it is he piles every single bad thing that ever happened in the whole war into a single platoon over 2 weeks. Drugs, friendly fire, massacres in a village, and one sergeant murdering another, all of it in just one unit. And the truth is, a real platoon that came apart that many ways at once, there wouldn't have been a platoon by Friday. And that famous business of Barnes gunning down Elias, both real men, both served under Stone, but they were never in the same outfit at the same time. And nobody murdered anybody. Stone borrowed two names and built himself a morality play. And I'll forgive him the compression. A man's trying to fit the whole war into one valley is gonna overpack the rucksack a little.
What have I done?
At number 8, it's the granddaddy of the prestige war pictures, The Bridge over River Kwai by David Lean in 1957. And this thing won 7 Oscars about British POWs in a Japanese camp in Burma, and they were put to work building a railroad bridge that their own side aims to blow up sky high.
Let's go!
Let go!
All right, now let me get the craft out of the way first, because the craft, it's kind of towering here. That's a real bridge they built, and a real one that they blew up. Alec Guinness. He's a man so stubborn about discipline.
Have you a nervous affliction? If not, stop making those faces at once. It may be funny, Hughes, and I'm sure it's done with the best motives, but it's not military behavior.
No, sir.
And pride that he loses the thread entirely and throws himself into building an enemy, a beautiful bridge, just to prove the British do everything proper. And he forgets whose side he's on, till it's nearly too late.
Officer, sir. British officer. Here to blow up the bridge. Blow up the bridge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. British commando orders, sir. Blow up the bridge. Yes, sir. Look out. There's no time. No.
But here's a splinter under the fingernail, and it's a big one. The real senior officer at the camp, a fellow named Tusi, he did the opposite of what Guinness does on screen. Guinness builds the Japanese this beautiful bridge to prove the British grit. Tusi, he sabotaged the thing. He collected termites to eat the timber, he poured weak concrete, and he dragged his feet every way a man can drag them.
I admit to you the failure of a member of the Japanese staff. I refer to Lieutenant Miura. He is a platoon engineer.
The picture took a story of quiet resistance and flipped it into a prideful collaboration. And the men who were actually there, they were pretty damn sore about it. The movie even gets the river wrong. The bridge crosses the Mekong, not the Kwai. And so many tourists showed up confused that Thailand up and renamed the river to match the movie. Well, now that's a picture with some reach. This here's a German film, Stalingrad from 1993, and we're going to go on to the Eastern Front from the German side, and it's a cold film. Lord, is it ever cold.
Fire!
It follows a pack of assault engineers down into the rubble of the factory district where Stalingrad did its worst work. What I want to flag is the production, because they did this the honest way. The director shot the thing in sequence over a long winter, so the men actually wasted away on camera. That gauntness you see setting into their faces, it ain't makeup, it's the calendar. They built a massive rubble set in Czechoslovakia, 10,000 tons of real debris and period brick dust. So the city you're watching falling apart, it's actually falling apart. The room to room, the flamethrowers in the stairwells, the field hospital sawing legs with nothing to bite down on, and the discipline collapsing into firing squads for their own men. That's the Rattenkrieg. That's the Rat War. And the picture lives down in it, where it's cold and dark and hopeless.
Давай! Давай!
Now, I gotta level with you on the part the picture tries to sell you. It hands you the average German soldier as this clean, innocent fella who just wants to go home, never cared a lick for the politics. And the Sixth Army at Stalingrad, that just ain't who they were. That outfit was up to its neck in the ugliest business of the whole war. And this movie tucks all that villainy into one cartoon of a captain so the rest can stay innocent. You just keep that in the back of your mind. But as a portrait of what that cauldron did to the men inside it, the cold, the hunger, and the slow stripping away of everything human, it's about as unflinching as a movie gets. Alright, we're going to talk about another German film, Cross of Iron, from 1977. And this one's from Sam Peckinpah. And he's doing the Eastern Front as well, the only way Peckinpah knew how. Slow motion, grimy, and mad as hell at everybody wearing a rank. James Coburn, he plays Sergeant Steiner.
What do I have to be grateful for, Captain? Your tolerance? You think that just because you and Colonel Brandt are more enlightened than most officers that I hate you any less?
And he's a worn-down NCO who's quit believing in anything but the men next to him, and it's set against a glory-hunting Prussian aristocrat captain who wants an Iron Cross so bad he can taste it, whether or not he earned it.
But still remember that in civilian, as well as in military life, the distinction is made between people.
The class war inside the German ranks? Well, historians say that's the realest thing in this picture. By late 43 after Stalingrad, the old Prussian officers and the exhausted frontline men flat out hated each other, and Peckinpah, he nails it. He even got the real T-34s out of the Yugoslav army instead of dressing up some sorry old American tanks in a German helmet. Although, wouldn't you know it, they're the wrong T-34s, the up-gunned 85s, a year early, the same gremlin that bit Stalingrad. But here's the thing nobody else was doing in '77. This is a war picture told entirely from the German enlisted man's foxhole, and it ain't interested in heroes or cartoon villains either. Steiner's just trying to keep his boys alive in a war he knows is lost. Here's my favorite bit of behind the scenes, and it explains the whole strange ending to this flick. Peckinpah, he drank the budget like it was German schnapps, and the money ran dry before the climax was shot. And so that final scene of Steiner laughing like a lunatic while the Prussian fumbles to reload, that's just pure improvisation. It was banged out in 3 days in an abandoned rail yard because there was no script and no cash left. Sometimes the bottle in the budget writes a better ending than the writer could have done himself. Now, like I said at the beginning, this here's a video made by you all. If you haven't seen the movie you've been waiting for, why don't you go put it down in the comments and click that like and subscribe button so you know when it comes out. All right, let's get back into the action.
German soldiers are fire!
Now I want you to picture 140 British troops, walking wounded included, at a mission station called Rorke's Drift in 1879. And then I want you to picture 4,000 Zulu warriors coming over the hills at them. That's the long and short of Zulu. And if your blood don't move a little watching it, you need to go check your pulse. You might have just passed. This is the oldest picture on the list, and it's one of the prettiest. The cinematography just drinks in the landscape. The heat shimmering, the dust, and the redcoats against all that brown and green is incredible. And we got a young Michael Caine in his first big role, who plays his foppish lieutenant and damn near steals the whole show with that lazy aristocratic drawl.
I suppose there are such things as gifted amateurs. If I may
Are you questioning my right to command?
Oh, not your right, old boy. Never mind. We can cooperate.
Now, this picture also tells some whoppers, and the biggest is the one you probably love the best if you've seen the flick. That stern scene where the Welshmen, they answer the Zulu war chant by bellowing out, "Men of Harlech," it couldn't have happened. That regiment wasn't even Welsh yet. It was a Warwickshire outfit, mostly Englishmen. And that sing-off is pure movie magic with no history under it. And that noble finish where the Zulu gather on the hills to sing the British a salute and stroll off respectful like. Well, the real Zulu, they pulled back because they were worn out, low on ammunition, and could see a heavily armed relief column coming over the hill. There was no serenade. That was exhaustion and a close call. But what it gets dead right, it's the Zulu themselves. They hired thousands of Zulu people to play their own ancestors, and the picture grants them dignity and a warrior's honor at a time when most movies wouldn't have even bothered. Still, it's a mean, tense picture you'll rarely find, and it respects its enemy more than most modern films manage. This one here, it's the big one. Pearl Harbor told straight from both sides of the ocean with no sappy love story bolted onto the front like a bad Disney flick. 1970. And they spent more money recreating the attack than the Japanese spent doing the real one. And let that just sit for a minute. This is Tora, Tora, Tora. And this here is a documentary-style cold telling of Pearl Harbor, where they built the whole thing twice. American director shot the American side, and Japanese director shot the Japanese side. And the result is the rarest thing in a war picture you're ever going to see. No heroes, no villains, just two nations sleepwalking into a catastrophe and a whole chain of folks missing the warning signs. You know, like the ignored radar blip, the midget sub, the destroyer ward sank an hour before the planes even came. The picture tracks every blunder getting lost in the inbox. That's history done with a cold eye and a steady hand. Now, there weren't any flyable Japanese carrier planes left in the world at the time, so the crew took American and Canadian trainers and dressed them up till they passed as Zeros, Kates, and Vals. And those takeoff shots, the planes rolling off the deck into the dawn one after another, that's a real Essex-class carrier. The Yorktown, steaming off San Diego with Japanese wind lines painted on her deck and sailors in whitecaps cheering her on. There's this scene where a B-17 comes in to land on one wheel, skid sideways while ground crew run for their lives. And then a P-40 that plows into a row of parked planes. Neither one of those was scripted. The bomber had a real landing gear failure, and the fighter was a wire-controlled prop that actually got away from him. And because by the grace of God, nobody died, the director looked at that terrifying footage and said, yeah, that's gonna stay in the picture. So you're watching a real disaster kept on purpose. Now the harbor, it was actually full of models. 40-foot miniatures, 19 Japanese ships and 10 American floated in a studio tank, plus one floating battleship set that ran $1 million all by itself. Just one thing to set straight though, since it's the most repeated line in a war movie, at the very end, Yamamoto says that bit about waking a sleeping giant and filling him with terrible resolve. I mean, it's a beautiful line. But he never said it. The screenwriters, they made that up, and it was so good that Hollywood's been quoting it as gospel ever since. That's the strange power of the movies. Invent a sentence and watch it become history. Now, we just covered Tora, and them 40-foot models in that studio tank hold up better than half the computer crap Hollywood pours on us now. So you tell me, what's a practical effect from an old war picture that still looks better than anything that's rendered today? Drop it down in the comments. Your fellow soldiers will appreciate the stories. Here's one most of you in the States probably ain't seen. And you know what? That's our loss. It ain't theirs. This is an Australian picture from 2019 about the Battle of Long Tan. It's 108 young Aussies and Kiwis, half of them conscripts barely old enough to shave, caught in a rubber plantation by a force many times their size, in a monsoon so thick it grounded the aircraft and it turned the whole fight over to the guns. And the guns are where this picture sings.
Contact front! Contact front! Everyone there!
The thing the veterans praised loudest was the artillery. 18 Australian and New Zealand guns plus a battery of American 155s, firing non-stop for hours, walking the rounds in closer and closer till they're dropping steel less than 100 meters off their own men's heads. The thing this picture understands, and a lot of bigger budget productions never figure out, is what artillery means to a man pinned down. The whole back half of this movie hangs on the guns. There's a stretch where Sergeant's platoon is about to get overrun, and he calls the shell fire down on his own position because it's that or nothing. The whole battle basically runs on that knife's edge. Friendly fire walked in danger close, which is exactly where the picture gets its name. You feel every round, and Major Harry Smith, the real one, he vouched for those desperate radio calls himself. Now, where it does overreach, it's the body count and the bad guys. The picture leans on the old inflated numbers, 2,500 enemy, 245 killed. When the careful historians went and cross-checked, the Vietnamese records put it closer to 1,750 men and 210 killed. The picture also runs the enemy at them in waves like a video game. when in truth, closing fast was a deliberate Viet Cong tactic to crowd out the guns. They were quick-thinking men on that side of the plantation, and the movie don't quite give them credit for it. But here's what it nails. It cast Australians to play Australians, which sounds like nothing till you've sat through a movie managing folks it claims to honor. And those battle scenes are staged with the digital nonsense kept to a bare minimum. It's practical, it's wet, and it's close. That mud's real, the rain's real, and they put actual Iraqi and Afghanistan combat vets in as extras, so the way they move is right and real. You can feel it. Hamburger Hill, 1987, and 10 days of nightmare of Operation Apache Snow. This is about a 14-man squad of the 101st who are grinded uphill 937 in the Oshaw Valley over and over because the brass, they said you need to take it. And I want to talk about what that hill becomes, because that's the masterstroke in this film. It does start as a triple canopy jungle, all green and thick, and then the artillery and the napalm and the white phosphorus chew it down to a bald, muddy, crater-pocked scab of a hill. And the men, they have to crawl up a 70-degree slope in the pouring rain, sliding back down through the blood and the muck. The veterans who were there, they validate this picture about as hard as any veterans validate anything they've ever seen. The screenwriter carried a rifle with the first cav, and Dale Dye, the same Marine who built the boot camp for Platoon, he put those actors through 14 days of jungle hell, so the exhaustion you see, it's the real article. And this thing, it don't flinch from the friendly fire either. There's a sequence where the gunship mistakes their own command post for the enemy and chews it up. And that happened on May 11th, 1969. Aerial rocket artillery on their own boys, and the picture honors it instead of hiding from it. The error that some folks complain about is that the soldiers wear bright blue color patches instead of the subdued ones. And you know what? That ain't no error. That's research. The Screaming Eagles, they flat out refuse to subdue their patches and wore them loud in the bush. Regulations be damned. Now that's a unit with some personality. This picture ends with no flag, no victory, just a worn-down handful of men on a hill that went and got abandoned almost as soon as it was taken. And that's the sad truth of it all. Now, you all voted with your comments, and this is the picture that ran away with the most mentions. And I'll tell you what, it absolutely belongs here. We Were Soldiers is the 2002 picture about the Battle of Ia Drang, November 1965. And it's the first big stand-up fight between the U.S. Army and the North Vietnamese regulars when Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore took the 1st of the 7th Cavalry into a landing zone called X-Ray, and damn near didn't bring any of them back out. Mel Gibson, he plays Moore.
I will be the first to set foot on the field, and I will be the last to step off.
And Sam Elliott playing a hard old sergeant major is about the most natural cast in the history of moving pictures, like casting water to play wet.
Our customer's a pussy. You ain't.
Now the airborne stuff, the Hueys, the whole notion of leapfrogging infantry in by helicopter into a high LZ, the picture gets structurally flawless. Those resupply flights into X-ray under fire, they're real, and they were flown by men named Crandall and Freeman, who went back into that meat grinder again and again, unarmed, and earned the Medal of Honor for it. The broken arrow call that pulls every available aircraft in country down onto one surrounded perimeter, that shit's real too, and rendered right. And the picture, it does something most war movies never bother with. It goes home. It shows the families, and it shows the army, so unready for the body count they were delivering death telegrams by taxi cab. And Julia Moore, she's the colonel's wife. She goes and intercepts those cabs to do it herself, all gentle and human, which is the honest-to-God origin of the casualty notification officer we have today. That's a piece of history most folks never knew, and the picture rescued it. Now, there is an issue with this film, and it doesn't start until the ending. The real Edrang didn't finish with the triumphant bayonet charge sweeping the field. That was invented. It was bolted on for Hollywood curtains. Worse, by stopping at LZ X-ray, the picture quietly buries what came next. LZ Albany. 2 days later, where another battalion got strung out in a column and walked into an ambush that killed or wounded more than half of them. It was the single bloodiest day for Americans in that whole war. And the movie, it ends on a win. The history ends on a slaughter, and the movie never shows you that.
But few signs of the enemy in person. There was little resistance. The North Vietnamese had literally run for the hills.
These are the kind of movies that used to live on the bottom shelf of the video store behind some cracked plastic case, or came on at 1 in the morning on a cable channel while your daddy fell asleep watching. And that's where most of us met these movies. Late, alone, half by accident, and that's why they stick. A war picture, it don't teach you in a classroom. It catches you in the dark when you ain't braced for it. And it tells you something about your own people that nobody'd say to your face.
We'll move faster alone.
The men who fought these fights mostly wouldn't talk about them, so the movies, they talk for them. Hey, you want some more? Well, you go and put down in the comments the ones we missed, the ones you remember, and I'll add them to the roster. If you want to know when the video comes out, then you better subscribe. Okay, it's time, so lock and load, partners, and keep the reels a-rolling.